In the last plague, the Makat Bechorot, the warning for the killing of the firstborn, Hashem tells Moshe to tell Paro that this Makkah, that the next Makkah is going to be so severe, you lose all the firstborn. And Moshe says it over to Paro, but he says it over Kechatzot hayom. Hashem, it seems, told him it should be at midnight, and Hashem is exact at midnight, as we find later on that the Bechorim died on the stroke of midnight. But when Moshe told it over to the Paro and his servants that the plague would come, Kechatzot, he added on the word, the kaf, about midnight, not exactly at midnight. So why did Moshe change? It seems Hashem, when he came at midnight, he instructed them. So Moshe should have also said that at midnight Hashem will strike the firstborn. Exact. But Moshe took a precaution. Moshe, understanding the nature of people, added the word kechatzot, around midnight. Do you know why? Because Moshe was afraid that had they been wrong in the timepieces were not correct. They had timepieces and you had hourglasses, and if they made a mistake and they thought because chatzot had come, and for a couple of minutes nothing would have happened, and in true chatzot the makkah would come, you know what the people would say? Oh, in those 2 minutes between their mistake and the time, or the correct time of chatzot, they said Moshe is wrong. He said there's going to be Makat Bechorot, the firstborn are going to be killed. And nothing's happened. And even though 2 minutes later they would see it did happen, but for those 2 minutes, they would be thinking that Moshe was wrong. So Moshe took that precaution. Because even for 2 minutes they should doubt him, that's human nature. That maybe years later, maybe at other times, yes, they'll remember that it didn't happen at the time Moshe had said, and it would make them behave differently. That's human nature. They try to pick out a fault and they try to reserve themselves to be able to go back. So Moshe made sure that they shouldn't think for 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, that what he had said had not been correct. Because it can have a disastrous effect later. So that's human nature. In human nature, we have to be so careful. And therefore, we should learn to be so careful. When we say anything, we should try and avoid giving the other person an impression, a bad impression, even for a short while. Even, especially Chachamim, should not say things which they might regret even for a few minutes. It can change the whole perception of Izaru b'divrechem, and try and make sure that no chilul Hashem or no doubts remain in those people who hear you. Shabbat Shalom.